So, welcome back to Leadership Redefined podcast. We are your hosts, Lauren Connolly and Gunjan Odedra. Today, we've got a really special guest joining us today, Mo Ali, who's going to be talking to us about leadership beyond inheritance. Our conversations will be especially important as they talk about the intersectionality of identity, family loyalty, and self-authorship. And we'll explore leadership not just as a position, but an internal process.
There's a specific kind of pressure when it comes to inheriting a dream that wasn't originally yours. Not because it's bad, but because it's already had shape and size in someone else's head. It was someone else's ambition. And when we grow up inside that shape, we start questioning where we are, what our position looks like. It's not about being less ambitious, but it's more about trying to understand our place in that shape and size. So, with that being said, today's guest has grown up inside a family business built through sacrifice, migration, and survival. But here he is, he's walked away, not from his family or his values, but to create his own path within leadership. So, we welcome you, Mo. It's so good to have you here. And what are your thoughts?
First of all, thank you for the, the introduction. Very honored to be here.
Anytime.
But yeah, I think it's inheritance and so forth, leadership. So many variables. I think it's every person is different from each other, and every path is different from each other. So at the end of the day, it's something that from my own experience. So I hope I can increase the knowledge, the awareness, and the motivation to the listeners to that, something that nothing is impossible. Everything is possible if you put your mind to it in a way. So I'm love to share and bounce some ideas with you lovely people, and then we could go from there. But I think it's I'm privileged to be here. So I think,
thank you.
At the end of the day, I think it's a platform that we could use for every single person, and I hope my 2 pence can actually help with my experience, what I went through, my family went through, or I think I could relate with all people from my background or from my color, I would say. But yeah, far away. Let's run it. Let's go for it.
Oh, amazing. Thanks, Mo. And that's a really lovely introduction and to hear from you and why you're here. And I agree. I mean, we'll definitely have listeners here who will have had similar or same experiences to yourself. And that's exactly what all of this podcast is about, really, isn't it? Is creating a space for those different experiences so that people can resonate with that, especially as they're emerging into leadership. And maybe we might have listeners who are experiencing the inheritance side of leadership and feeling like they want to change, and this might just be the thing that motivates them to do that and to take that step away if that's something they've been considering. So yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Mo.
Definitely. But disclaimer, I do waffle on, so let me know when I
don't worry, so do we.
Yeah.
No, you waffle away, Mo. Honestly, your experiences are so valuable, and like I say, there'll be someone else that resonates with you. So
I'll pay you later.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll start with Mo. Thinking about your experiences growing up and leadership and how it was modeled in your sort of life and maybe within your family business and so on. And so we'd be really curious to start with, what does leadership mean to you, and what has it meant to you growing up, and how was that leadership modeled or seen in your household?
I would say there's multiple questions in that one. So I would say what leadership means to me and what that looks like is, of course, now I'll say older now, I would say, but it's like it's being like a role model. Number one, that's the first thing that comes in my head.
Yeah.
Being a role model, a people's person. I would say something that leads and guides, I would say, and for the better. But in a nutshell, that by the top of my head, that comes in my head. But at the end of the day, it's something that if you want to output goodness and lead people and for their benefits, I think something that comes in my head. But that's leadership for me, in a way, in a nutshell, is to lead them to the right path and make them grow.
Yeah.
and that looks wherever that takes, to be fair. That could be
And
by verbally, actions, um, but that's the way I see it. But back in the days, I think leadership was like, for my career experience and that kind of way, I think where I've seen and learned from it is more rigid and more
mm,
rigid. I think just instructions and that I was built in that. As I would say, I've learned from that experience. But then I realized when I got older, that's not the worst. That's not the best way of doing it. I think there's always takes two to tango. You need
okay.
feedback. You need knowledge to grow in a way. But I think
Yeah.
it's all depending on the person that who's mentoring you in that kind of way. So
Mm,
I come
Mm.
from financial background, I come from commercial background and so forth. So my background experience in my work, my career experience, I think played a part. The person that I want to become, and then we're going for a deep dive into my biography. To be fair, in my
the listeners want that. They
uh,
want to know about
so
you.
my mom, my dad told me, but no, um, so but no, I think yeah, I do waffle a lot. But leadership for me, but in a nutshell, yes. It's leading, guiding, becoming a role model because it's the way you speak, the way you talk. I think that's something that plays a big factor in um, the outcome of results, and also for me personally, it's faith as well. So my religion plays a big factor. And once I got older, I realized that it's something that plays a massive factor into what I do, what I say, and so forth.
Mm. And so you said about a role model. I and I'm putting you on the spot here now, Mo. So it's okay if you don't have one. But do you have, when you think about leadership, do you have a role model?
Bruno Mars, no joke. But um, no, did I have a role model? I would say, yeah, I would say, um, my pops, my older brother were
Yeah.
role models for me, I think.
Mm,
I say I think, but they set they they guided, and what I've seen with my pops, to be fair, and my old man, is that uh, to be fair, he had nothing, and I've experienced that.
mm,
Of course, my mom and dad came to the country, to be fair, but um, he didn't. What I seen and what I've heard, he didn't moan, groan, nothing like. Just he just got it done. To be fair,
yeah.
and I love that about him. My older brother, which is of course the eldest son of the family,
Mm,
um, he had the responsibility to take on. Um, but yeah, I say my older brother and my pops. To be fair, and to be fair, my beautiful mom, she's a role model.
oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure she'll love hearing that if she listens to
yeah,
this.
yeah. She no, yeah. That's the thing that I think we fail to understand that. For me personally, it like I say, it takes two to tango.
Mm.
Mom and dad are the two pillars for the family. So
Oh,
that's where we do things, and that's the honest truth. To be fair, can't it takes two to tango,
yeah.
and they're both alive. They're both equal.
Mm. Thank you. That's lovely. So, when thinking about your past experiences of leadership and say like that, those maybe earlier experiences of seeing the leadership within your family maybe in a more rigid way, do you think there's a difference in the way that you lead or your leadership experiences now?
Completely lost me. What was that again?
I said, is there a difference in the way that your leadership is now? So having seen leadership in that more rigid way, as you said, in say
Yeah,
your family
definite. Of
business,
course.
yeah.
Yeah. It's things have changed. I think back in the days it's more rigid. People didn't think they could speak for themselves.
Mm,
Um, I think they were not confident in that kind of way. I think it's that kind. I believe, and that's what I've seen, and that's
mm,
personally myself. To be fair, I think just self-confidence within myself to see if I can do it, or if can I say this, or what if the shoulda, woulda, coulda. To be fair, but I think with experience and with I think with age, you start beginning to start molding the person that I want to become in
mm,
that kind of way. So which I did,
mm,
and I always think and I always believe that if this role or if this position and the position that I'm in today, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So with,
Hmm.
and I'm grateful for the people that I've learned from or I've seen, like in my career background, but with my, of course, mom, dad, and my older brother, yeah, I don't want to become them. I want to become better.
Ooh, that's an
Does that make sense?
interesting.
Not in a competitive way, because I see
Yeah.
some obviously some things that they, yeah, I wouldn't do that way. But I probably have my mother's side on me. But then I always have a gentle side sometimes. So I always see the
Mm,
goodness in people, whereas my older brother's like, there's more ABC, no, black and white. There's
mm,
no grey.
mm.
Mm.
There's that question mark. What if? But that's what I took from. I took a piece of my older brother, I took a piece of my dad, and then I took a piece of my mom, and then I was like, what? Let me become the person that I want to become. And and they traits are always good. Their blood is in me anyway, so they traits and what they did is obviously benefited me, and I've took
Mm.
it and ran with it, so I think so far, yeah, I'm all right. I
Mm.
think I think I'm doing okay, so not too bad. Can't complain.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. I think what I'm noticing is people often imagine that these decisions are like dramatic turn points. It's like, I'm going back to series and drama. We're like, oh, this is the time when it changes. I'm going to select these traits, only these traits, and I'm going to go from there. But in reality, I think it's quite often much quieter. It's very different. And we do know psychologically that, second generation leaders often experience what we call conflict and the tension between family loyalty versus individual level experiences. So just growing as an individual, creating your own path, like you said, you've noticed different role models, you've selected what you think works well for you. So, I think this is where the transition to a healthy leadership starts taking place, especially when we're talking about family systems and the different factors that you've mentioned. So, just reflecting back more, do you think that there was a specific moment where you know that you couldn't stay and you had to create your own path? And what was that path?
Yeah, definitely. With second generation, I think that's the second generation. Whereas culturally, I would say, of course, my old man had a business, a restaurant business, so obviously he wanted to inherit it to the sons to run it, which we did. But it got to a point that that life wasn't for us. Does that make sense? Because obviously with my older brother, I'm the youngest son. So
Mm.
and there's a middle one. So at the end of the day, it's something that we just didn't want to be in that world, even though it makes a lot of money. But it's we wanted a life. It's
Mm.
antisocial. The hospitality industry. It's there's no life after. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like you're doing night hours obviously, and we didn't want that because we want to spend time with friends, family, do things, go for a meal, that kind of
Mm.
stuff. So of course, and but the thing is, we didn't like close it down obviously, but we just yeah we agreed upon that that's something that we don't want to do, but we keep the legacy on the business on. But of course, we just played it more clever. We start recruiting more people that managers and stuff to oversee it. But we just oversee it because we are
Mm.
the main people. But we got to a realization that, of course, I didn't want to do it. I think when I was very, I say very early on, very
Mm.
early on. My older brother, he was sort of like cemented. He was as the eldest son, so he had to sort of take over. But
Yeah.
luckily, I'm with God blessing that me and my brothers have an open communication that we always do things together and we work. We never say no. We okay, you know what? If you don't like it, okay, let's work around it and say, look, let's split
Mm,
the responsibility, which we did. So everybody has a fair share of having a life and also keeping
Mm.
the legacy. And so I didn't want to I didn't want to get into that industry or in that world
Yeah.
very early. So, but I did my part, I bit my tongue because at the end I was thought about what my dad and mum went through, how to get
mm,
that. So I can't take that for granted because I wouldn't be here or wouldn't be in this kind of position if it wasn't for them. So I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say
mm,
no, your restaurant is shit. I don't want it. See you later. Thanks for the peanuts and thanks for the money, but I'm gone. But it doesn't work
Yeah.
like that. But
And
yeah, yeah.
how did you battle between that when you've got that maybe that conflict of wanting to continue that legacy of your parents and really appreciate the hard work that they've put in, but yet wanting to create that different
Yeah.
pathway for yourself because you, like you said, you wanted a different life, you wanted that maybe more social time for yourself and stuff like that,
To be fair, yeah, it was, with culture. I think culture is emerging, like a culture is changing, and the elder generation are learning a bit more, which the use of internet, and people and the younger generation are teaching them. But in that particular time, that was hard. I was shitting
Mm,
myself, my bad. But I was crapping it, just having that conversation with with my old man, and my mom was like, nah, I don't want to do it no more. No, I don't want to do it. But it was hard. That was hard having the conversation, but as a family, as a unit, um, we share the responsibility, so we made it work. But to be fair, when my old man, he had the business running, but he had his second heart attack. He had to retire. I would say, yeah, very, very young. But but with
mm,
to be fair, with listening and then having an open conversation with them, because don't forget, I had to do my studies.
yeah.
And I had to do uni, I had to go have that kind of life. So also by having to do my studying and also helping out with the business and so forth, it was
Mm,
tough. So
yeah.
but to be fair, they were happy with it, they were okay with it. Um and I didn't leave the business. I was there when I needed to help out. But once
Mm,
I got older, that's when I had to pick up the slack and do what I needed to do. And that
mm,
comes with sacrifices,
mm-hmm.
to be fair. You know what I mean? That comes with sacrifices. So friends
Yeah.
going out with meals, because I realized when I got older, I appreciate what they're giving us.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, when you're sharing that, I'm just thinking back and wondering, even though they're really difficult conversations. I mean, I come from a similar background in terms of culture, family, identity. Of course, there's gender differences as well, and the fact that
Mm.
you've said, I mean, I'm a third generation, you're a second generation, so we can clearly see that difference as well. Um, but what do you think is the most important internal strategy that has helped navigate that transition? I mean, it has been a challenge for myself because I'm constantly changing or moving countries. But what do you think? How did you navigate this transition phase?
It's I think every person is different. I think it's the way I navigate it is I was stuck in two worlds, that kind of way. And
Mm,
I will never ever like disappoint my parents, because they did a lot and they put food on the table and so forth. So I had to, in that particular time, I had to do both. And so I was like, okay, I've got responsibilities there. There's a future. And then also I've got my own future that I want to build, and I want to do something for myself. I want to like build my own path.
yeah.
Not in a selfish way, but I just wanted to do it because I realized that industry is not for me. But I will still suck it up and just do it. But commit. I just had to do both worlds. Just had to do it. There's no internal strategies in that time. I was like, you know what, I'm not
Yeah.
going to leave my family, or I'm not going to, because of this dream, which I will build on,
Mm,
but I just had to do it. I just had to suck it up and just do it, to be fair. But I knew my brothers, if without me, my brothers will suffer and my parents will suffer for it, because the roles and responsibility will be very heavy on them. And that time, I think my older brother was married then, so he had his first. Elder sister was married as well, and she had her first as well. So it's just too much going on. So
yeah.
there's no internal strategies that are planned to, like, listened or on the radio or whatever. But in that time, like, I just suck it up. I just did it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm sort of listening to you and reflecting on what you're saying, and actually, what I'm hearing or the pattern I'm noticing is that it takes a lot of hard work and probably quite a lot of time, actually, as well, to sit with that decision and be comfortable with the feeling of wanting to take your own path. I mean, I myself have taken a slightly different path from my family. I'm the first person to go to university, and obviously
Wow.
moved away
Go
from
on.
my family. Yeah, yeah. So I know I can sort of resonate with you in some way in terms of like making quite a big decision, and actually that initial part possibly taking quite a lot of guts actually, and quite a lot of hard work to make that kind of change in your life. So I suppose what I would really love to know actually, because like we said, there's probably listeners who are maybe in similar situations, or wanting to make that big change in their life, whether it be through, say for example, the inheritance and wanting to create their own pathway, or being a second or a third generation. What would you, now that you're looking back at it, what would you tell your younger self, um, or any of the listeners who might be in a similar position to what you were?
To be fair, like the third generation, but then I'll say to any single person, regardless of what color, shape, size, whatever it may be, but at the end of the day,
Mm,
is never give up on your dream and never give up on your goal. There's always a
yeah.
way of doing it. You
Mm,
may just have patience, and we all, and in my religion, obviously, it's in Islam, is that patience key. If it's meant
yeah.
to be, it's meant to be. Doesn't mean that it's
Hmm.
gonna come straight away. And that's something we lack of is patience. We know we want a Lamborghini, we want a big house, but how are you
Yeah.
gonna get there? But it takes time, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
Very true.
always takes time. So, and I always believe that, in that, it's never give up on it. And I'll be the biggest fan, whoever has a dream, anyone. And
Mm,
I think it's that having a dream, never, if someone gives up on it, that's something that being needs to be reignited, because you might just like have a, what's that word? Regret out of it. It's like, I should have done that. I wish I could be in this position if I didn't follow that dream. But if you don't try, how are you supposed to know? It's there for a
mm,
reason, isn't it? So I always say, yeah, go for it and put your full heart in it, and then absolutely, then exactly if it's worth doing, if it's worth it, and if it's going to be more beneficial for yourself. And then I always say, go for it. But my
yeah.
younger self, um, it's different. I was saying, in my younger self, this is going back over 20, I say 20 years ago ish. Sorry, my age, yeah, but
Showing your age,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Ah,
What? I'm not, to be fair, I'm not afraid of my age, but I'm 39. Yeah, this is way back more than like 18, 19, 20 uni
yeah,
days, like 21 uni days ish, yeah, I would say.
yeah.
But, and to be fair, I never, I always wanted to do something. I always
Yeah.
wanted to do something. Not about I don't want to work for myself, or I always wanted to build something, and uh, and that's just on the basis of what my family went through. And I could say, speaking on behalf of all brown people in a way, but not like I'm not a spokesperson for them, but I'm just saying, like, it was a difficult. I'm not saying it's a difficult stage in life, and I've seen it, and I've
Mm,
felt it,
mm,
and I never want to be in that position. I don't want my parents to be in that position, or myself to be in a position. Whereas if there's an opportunity there, go for it. If you
yeah.
think there's a little of opportunity, go for it, because you
Hmm.
never know, that might just blow up and become something that like a gem. So
Yeah.
the only thing I realize, that, and the new generation, is that we have so much options. We have so much opportunity. It just makes it easier. Whereas before, we just blood, sweat, and grit and
Mm,
tears to go through for a tenner. But I think go for it. Don't let
yeah.
it slip. If you do,
Yeah.
if you let it slip, redo it. Like, rethink and just go for it. Someone just needs to kick up the ass and just dash it, do it. Once you start, once the snowball effect, you will never you will never like say, you know what, I'm glad I did it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And how
And
it doesn't make a difference how stupid the idea is. You know what I mean? So you still do it.
yeah. Do you know, I was talking to someone about this earlier today actually, about starting your own thing, and actually it's not necessarily the actual thing itself, it's more about the guts that it takes to get started, and that
Yeah,
is actually the biggest barrier that a lot of
that
face,
is,
isn't it?
yeah,
So what
100%.
you're saying there is actually just go for
Go.
it. Just
Yeah,
you know,
just jump.
just try. Yeah, and all of these things that we might do wrong, or any mistakes that we make, they're all lessons to be learned, aren't they, for the next
Yeah,
thing that we do, aren't they? So Yeah. Oh, thank you, Mo.
I
No,
think
yeah,
mm, what I'm reflecting on and thinking is that this in between phase is very common. We all experience it in some way or form,
Mm,
and its
absolutely.
intensity might be different from one person to another. But I'm also thinking that how often within that in between phase do people lose their identity?
Mm,
And yeah, I mean, we could make mistakes. Does that mean that it shapes a different turn in our life? Does the path change all of a sudden? Yes, key part is patience, but that's quite a test, especially
mm,
in this world of everything is being instant. I mean, from instant noodles to just instant everything on the phone to delivery. um, Here we are trying to hold on. I mean, things take time. I think within our first episode as well, we're like, oh, we need patience. I mean, even if you're trying to grow a plant, it takes time.
mm,
So this in-between phase, quite often, even if you think about media and the representation that you have on social media or in conversations, quite often it's the success stories, isn't it, that people talk
yeah,
about? What's
definitely.
done really well, or the sacrifices that have led to this success, basically. But rarely people talk about the psychological no man's land, which is that in between. What happens there? It could either turn for the best or turn for the worst. What do you do there then?
Just keep on going. That's
Keep
the
on
truth.
going.
Just keep on plodding along. Just keep on doing it. The thing is that I realized with my experiences that we had my family business and my own self, say side businesses. I got a handful. Some did well, some didn't. Some went down the drain. Doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I'm just learning from it because I'm taking the opportunity to do it, and I just
mm.
wanted to grow. I mean, I'm talking about barbershops. Had one.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I want to have like a
I'm
franchise,
always
you know what I mean?
intrigued at the amount of
Like a
businesses
franchise.
that you've had.
You
Yeah.
know? It's like honestly, it's like but the thing is I had like it's not I want to make money. I want to retire comfortably. I
Yeah.
don't I will never want to I will never in a million years become a millionaire. I don't want it. That's the truth,
Yeah.
honestly. I don't want to become a millionaire. I think everybody I could speak on behalf of everyone. They just want to be comfortable.
Mm,
That makes sense.
mm,
And just
yeah.
comfortable, it's like you don't want to worry about anything or bills are paid, by click of a finger, I'm gonna order Uber Eats. Just that makes sense. I can't be bothered cooking. Uber Eats it is. Bang, flick your
Mm,
finger, get it. That kind of sense of comfortability. Don't want that
yeah.
kind of stress. And I think that in the inner side of me, and me and to be fair, my middle brother, we always look out for opportunities. We always like look out what can we do
Mm,
if this possible. What's the cost of it? How can we manage it?
yeah.
Even just working our day-to-day jobs, to be fair, but it just keep on going. There's so many failures. I just doesn't make that it's gonna, you know, demotivate of doing something great or something to
Mm,
build on because
Mm,
everyone started that way though. If you think about the, you know, entrepreneurs or whatever, they all started small. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
they all failed in that kind of way, in some kind of sort or some kind of way, but there's the thing is that you just have that inner you have to have that inner motivation and that could like stem from past experience people's experience and sort of
Mm,
depending how bad you want it
yeah. And I suppose
because
in psychology it says, doesn't it, that we kind of go towards the negative. We're naturally in tuned when things go wrong to take the negative and to really experience that. We can have 100 pieces of really amazing feedback or 100 successes and one thing that feels negative or like a failure, and that's one thing that will stick with us. So it's really interesting to hear you say, all these entrepreneurs, all these really successful people have had failures, and you yourself have had things that have maybe been mistakes or not necessarily been your biggest successes per se. So and like you say, it's all about that mindset, and what I'm hearing from you is you have a really positive and sort of growing mindset towards that. But I think what I'd like to know is from you, what helps to maintain that mindset for you, but also when you do feel that things feel negative, or when you feel like you've got that one negative comment or one thing that's gone wrong, what strategies, what things do you do that helps you to flip back into that positive mindset that you have?
The way my mind works, and I think my brothers as well, is that anything that we do, we look at the negatives first.
Mm.
That kind of way. Like we
Okay.
look at we look at the weaknesses first, because the strengths and the money and the rest of it will come after. That's gonna come
Yeah.
regardless anyway.
Okay.
And if we get a negative comment or a negative a situation or an issue, we take it on the chin. It's like, okay, that's done. We learn from it. Okay, how can we actually fix it from now on? Because it might just be a big expense. So we learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
We're never experts. We never say. I'll never say I'll never say to anyone I'm an expert. Never say. I'll never say that.
Okay.
I'm just. We're all human. If
Yeah.
you realize, everyone's gonna make mistakes. Everyone's gonna say something wrong. I always say something. I'll waffle on like like a waffler. But we always make mistakes. I will always expect to make mistakes every single year. Anything that we
Mm.
do, we are so ready in our back of our head. We're gonna make mistakes because it's gonna happen regardless. Nobody's
Yeah.
perfect in life. And once we got that mentality in our heads, I think for me personally, it's our faith that comes into place as well. Because at the end of the day, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Does it
Mm.
make sense? If
Mm.
that person is gonna make you an issue, it's meant to be. The people that are around
Mm.
me is meant to be. The people I'm speaking to, my friends and family, you guys, it's meant to be. Does that make sense? So at the end of the day, I'm grateful for that, but also I'm gonna take the weakness. I'm gonna take the issues with it as well. It's because it's there for a reason. So I'm gonna learn from it and go from it and then grow from it. But always expect you're gonna have the issues. Always plan, organize, and also have a safety net. So always plan ahead. That's what I would say.
Thank
So
you, Mo.
what I'm hearing is faith, planning ahead, patience, just go for it. We're all humans, mistakes happen,
That's
and
life,
and
isn't
we
it?
sort of grow from there.
Yeah. It's in general is life. Forget about inheritance or whatever it may be. The way I see it, we're all human, and at the end of the day, if you see something, go for it. I don't know what's stopping you. Have some self-belief, grow some
Mm.
self-belief in a way, and the world's your oyster. Because at the end of the day, we all have our own paths to go on. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's something that if you're really passionate about, you go for it. Because I
Mm,
know a couple of friends, they want to do something and then and ahhing. It's been 5 years. Still,
Mm.
we have a chat. It's like, yeah, I'm thinking of doing it. I go, but what's stopping you?
Yeah.
Literally, what's stopping you? And what his idea was peeing. It doesn't cost you £500. It's actually cost less than that. But
Yeah.
it's his momentum, it's his motivation. He's always making excuses. Then I said to him
mm.
honestly, it's like, you know what? It doesn't sound like you want to do it. You always make excuses.
He
Not
might
in a
be
harsh way.
very well listening to this. So
Yeah.
this could be the jump that he needs.
I'm blocking him. He said, what you doing, mate? Yeah, what you doing? Throw me under the bus. But the thing is, I'm always honest. I can't lie for my life. I'll be honest with you. I just can't do it. I feel, yeah, I just can't do it. But it's something that I've learned from him as
Mm.
well. So the people around me, I learn from him. I learn from them. I learn anyone that who's are successful. But it's you have to go for it.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
Definitely.
regardless if person's on inherited money or not, you could build from it. Always build small. They always say build small, but it is true though.
Mm-hmm.
You always build small and then watch how it grows. If you put your heart and soul in it and your effort and time, because everybody has 24
mm,
hours. So what's the difference between me and you?
mm,
Mm.
It's true, isn't
mm.
it? Everybody has 24 hours. So what makes you
Yeah.
different than me? No one. So
Wow.
it's how obviously, but um, you just have to go for it.
I
Mm.
mean, you've spoken about different identities throughout this podcast, from leading a business, from an entrepreneur, from inheritance, from working, being employed, being a team lead. I think there's various hats that we play in this
Mm.
entire process, and how you also support people that you work with. So it's the people value, the identity of that as well.
I forgot
So
about them.
what
Who, me? No.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm, I'm,
yeah,
I'm,
yeah. We do. I think we do in general.
mm,
Think
Yeah.
about it. Like you're a daughter, for example. Number
mm,
one, maybe a sister, you may be a sibling. That's a different hat. That's number
mm,
two.
mm,
Yeah.
Your work, you got a work hat. You got
Yeah.
maybe a boyfriend girlfriend hat. A partner hat.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do wear loads of hats. The question is,
Yeah.
what kind of hat you're gonna wear?
in
Yeah.
your
Well,
leadership,
that's it.
I think
Yeah,
that's the point,
yeah,
isn't
leadership
it?
has,
If
yeah,
you're
Yeah.
redefining leadership, what hat are you wearing? Or
yeah.
are you creating one?
Exactly. You can create one, to be fair.
Yeah.
You can, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
do not disturb hat. That's what I was thinking.
Do you know, I actually think that's a question that we should put out to our listeners. I really would love
Mm,
you to think about, or for them to think about that exact question of, when you're thinking about your leadership, what is that hat you're wearing? Like you say, you're making
mm,
your own. What color is it? What does it look like? What shape is it? How does that
Yeah,
hat sit with you? When do you put that on? Just think. That's a really lovely question, actually. I really like that.
yeah.
mm. It's also
She's valid
thinking
point.
that leadership decisions don't happen in vacuum. It doesn't happen, in an overnight space. It takes
Mm,
time, it takes effort, it takes people, like Mo said in the start. There's so many variables. It's, family, systems, cultural expectations, unspoken contracts. How many times have we come in spaces where it's the unknown and we try to navigate that unknown? And I think
Yeah.
it
yeah,
takes a lot of regulation. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't
No.
happen instant. That patience is the key.
Mm,
yeah, yeah,
it is. It's the way I see it. I think once I got older, I think it's. I always treat people with respect and the way I want
mm,
to be treated,
yeah,
and with my team as well. And I said it when the first time I took over. It's like I had a meeting with them. I was like, you know what, guys, I'm not your mom or dad, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, I will respect you. I will give you all my time, my love, my care, my respect,
mm,
and I expect the same. But
Mm,
however, in
mm,
the perfect world, yeah, I'd love to have that, but sometimes it doesn't happen like that. But that
no,
will not phase me. That will not change me. Does that make sense? But I always treat the people the way I want to be treated. Of course, at work,
mm,
if you're talking about work-wise, there's a borderline. Obviously, you can't be like you have to be a manager in certain occasions. But of course, from experience, I've learned that when there's difficult conversation that needs to be done, yeah, it's stern words, and then the words I use is changed, my tone
mm,
changes, but however,
mm,
try to have that care, that care factor into it, so
mm-hmm,
the message goes and sticks with that person. But I learned it. I'm not mastered it yet, but I'm trying to
mm,
adapt to certain things like one-to-ones and all that kind of stuff. So target changing and all that. But yeah, I've learned to adapt a bit more stern in these conversations. But other than that, I think they get it, which is good.
mm.
And then once we have that conversation, it's just back to normal again. We all have laughs and jokes. We get the job done, and then it's all honky dory. But
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
wish I'd mastered it yet, but haven't mastered it yet.
No,
You
that's
say
lovely.
it,
Thank
but
you.
then you've got so many businesses that are working really well, and you've got a team that functions at its best. But I'm also interested and curious. The word that you've used is I'm not your parent. So leadership is not
Mm,
parenting.
Mm. Some people think that sometimes.
Mm.
They
It's
ask
like
that,
you're an
but
adult, I'm an adult, let's act like adults.
the
yeah.
reason why I say that is when when you're in that position, people do look up. Like it falls back on what I said before, role modeling and so forth. So if people do look up for you for answers, questions, guidance, and all that kind of stuff, so yes, I'll be there for you. Absolutely, I'm not going to change your nappy,
Mm,
but at the end, I'm not going to be your parent. But at the end, we are
mm,
working environment, and there's a certain element and borderline that I will not cross. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
like, can you give me medicine? Oh, I have a flu, but it doesn't work like that with me. So at the end of the day, you're a grown ass adult. So at the end of the day, just sorry, but we have
No.
to, there's a
Yeah.
yeah,
borderline.
yeah.
Doesn't make
I
sense. So
mean, there are times where people look up to leaders thinking they've got all the answers.
Yeah,
Maybe
we said
we
this,
absolutely.
don't.
didn't we? Yeah, in our last episode, we said that, didn't we?
But yeah, I heard that in the first one, but which I agree. We don't have the answers, but the way I do it is, you know what? Great question. I'll find out for you. I'm not
Mm.
perfect at the end of the day, but I'll find for it. I'll find the answer for you. I'll try to find the answer for you because you asked me for the guidance, so I'm gonna go for it. So I will ask for the answer. I'll try to get the answer for you or some sort of information. So I'm working towards your path, but no one's perfect. Like I said, no one's perfect. No one's gonna know every single answer, but we will be in a
Mm.
position to ask, to be asked, and to seek guidance from them, which is great. I'd love to help because for me, it's personally, I love to help them whatever it takes. So as long as they're comfortable and once they're comfortable, they work at their best and they actually do a phenomenal job. My team is amazing,
Mm.
so I can't complain with that.
Well, I'm sure they'll love to hear that, won't they?
I wish.
But
Let's
but as
joke.
we as we come to an end, Mo, um, I
Oh,
have
come on, let's go for
really,
another hour. Come on,
yeah.
bring it on. What you got?
Well, we probably will with the next question. Don't worry. I mean, I've loved hearing from you and the conversation that we've had today. It's been really valuable, and thank you, Gunjan, as well for sharing your thoughts and reflections. You've had some really lovely points in there. Um, I suppose as we finish up, one thing I'd like to ask you, Mo, is do you have a metaphor or a visual for what leadership is to you? So, as you heard in our first episode, we spoke about leadership for me being the life cycle of a plant, and for Gunjan, it was like being a lighthouse which is sturdy and set in place.
Ooh,
And the visual works really well for me.
lighthouse.
So, I'm
Like that
curious for
one.
you, is there a visual or just a what leadership is for you?
For some reason, I got a sponge in my head as a visual.
Oh,
A
okay.
sponge. I don't know why. Either I have to buy a sponge or but for me right now, it's a sponge
Why is it a
because
sponge for you?
it soaks all. So as a leader, I think it's not like a sounding, but I think yeah, a great leader. I think it needs to be a sounding board to take feedback,
Yeah,
knowledge, or whatever it may be. So take everything in.
yeah.
But a sponge, if you look at a sponge, I'm actually proud of myself saying that actually. But a sponge, um, soaks everybody. I say because as a leader, personally, my experience, it's
Mm,
emotionally. You have to be emotionally, mentally strong for the team
Mm.
because you're an anchor for them. And I think the
Mm.
lighthouse and the flower does play. Uh, I think every piece to the puzzle, but a sponge it soaks everybody's I say emotions and feedback and knowledge, and then once the water goes into the sponge, what happens to it? It gets solid, doesn't it?
Mm.
See, I like that. But then it becomes solid, and then it becomes strong, and then what that happens? It becomes sturdy and becomes very um what's that word? Um, reliable.
Mm.
Like a brick,
Mm.
it turns into a brick the way I see it, but whatever. But it becomes sturdy, so it's always rock solid once it's everything's. But then obviously you could always take everything out, which is all the negative things, and then soak in more. So
Mm.
I think that I'm actually proud of that. I'm proud of that.
Ooh, I'm
Um,
curious. Is there a color
yeah.
to the sponge?
I was going to ask
Uh,
that.
I was thinking a color.
uh,
There's our psychologist
yellow,
coming back in.
yellow, I guess.
Yellow.
Yellow.
It's, it's yellow. That's yeah, multicolored, whatever you need. But yeah, I think the sponge in general. But leadership for me, going back to it, it's yeah, I think it's an opportunity that's been. I think if a person in leadership, kudos, proud of you guys. I think either you worked hard for it, either you might be handed a role because of your capabilities, and I think you're good at
Mm.
your job. However, it takes time to develop, and nobody's perfect. So learn from them, learn that the mentors around you, the people around you, then try to make it your own, and
Mm,
then you will see because once you make it your own and be yourself, it's more easier in a way. That's the way
mm.
I see it, and I'll do it, and I'll I will never back down from it. To be fair, you have to be yourself. You can't be a robot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mo.
Oh
Um,
no,
absolutely
come
love
on.
your.
How was your day? What's going on?
He wants to
What's your
continue.
He wanted to
come on?
continue. I mean, Do you know what? Let's have you on again because you've been great. Thank you so much. It's
Next
been
time I
really,
charge.
really lovely hearing. Say that again.
Next time I charge.
Yeah. It's been so lovely hearing from you, Mo. Thank you so much. And I love your metaphor about a sponge. It's not one I've ever considered actually, but it's now I've heard it.
I think
I
it
resonate with
works.
it actually. I
Yeah, I
can,
think it works.
yeah, I think that definitely works. And you should be proud of yourself for coming up
Actually,
with
I
that
am.
one. That's
I
lovely.
am. I am. I am.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And we've really enjoyed having you on. Gunjan, any final reflections from you?
I think we've given quite interesting nuggets here, so stay tuned. We've got more coming in.
No,
We
thank you
do.
guys. It's been a pleasure. It's been an
Thank
honor.
you.
I hope I've helped in a way. But I'm sure you guys will do great. So
Thank you. And you absolutely will have helped. There will definitely be someone listening that resonates with your story. I know I certainly have. So thank you.
oh,
So
but yeah.
just, yeah, good. Well, coming back to the listeners, thank you so much for listening. And please do follow along. Please subscribe to our YouTube. Remember your reflective question that came up for you around your hats. So we would really love you to think about your hats and what that looks like for you in leadership. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for listening and following our journey. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.